Support is up for the royal family after a new poll found their popularity has risen by 3 percentage points in the last year. Not a big rise, but a rise nonetheless. The King and Queen are currently on a state visit to Italy. But are these royal trips really worth the cost? Last year, the sovereign grant, which covers official visits and palaces, not security, cost the taxpayer £83.3 million. And it's about to increase to £132 million until 2026 because of big extra money coming into the Crown Estates.
Though the exact figure is unclear, it's estimated that the royals generate £197 million for the UK economy annually. So with government finances stretched, should we stop funding royal travel? Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliam says it's money well spent. But Chief Executive of anti-monarchy organisation Republic, Graham Smith, feels that we should scale back the monarchy completely. And, of course, we've just spoken to a veteran who's talking about, you know, being worried that his personal independence payments are being taken away. At one end of the scale, people are worried about their small amounts of money that make their life livable. And here we're talking about the royals and, you know, millions of pounds being spent on that.
We are indeed.
The disparity.
On a 20th anniversary trip.
On a 20th anniversary trip, let us wish some good wishes there. But also, what's significant, I think, that when a country is in financial difficulty, there's no doubt at all that services are being stretched. You also look to maximise your assets, and our asset is the royal family and the trips at the moment. I mean, it's not just Italy, which is a very good example, because we've had France and Germany, and this, in fact, post-Brexit is part and parcel of soft power. Soft power is very significant, because if you look at the situation with Donald Trump, I mean, there is the most predictable character perhaps in modern times, you could almost say. And one thing he is consistent on, and that is a fondness for the royal family. And the Prime Minister used that and used it so well in his visit.
Graham.
So
I wonder if you've got the pictures of that at the moment, you know, the sort of... And, you know, that was, it was a world moment.
So, Graham, Donald Trump backs the royal family. Does that persuade you they must be a good thing?
I'm not sure sucking up to the worst US president in history is a great advert. I mean, we get told that they're great for relationships with Middle East and Central Asian leaders as well. So it's always the worst leaders in the world that they're apparently good friends with. But, you know, the idea that the monarchy brings in anything to the economy has been debunked. That's not true. It costs us...
Debunked by who?
By numerous people, I mean, including ourselves.
Sounds vague,
there's no evidence of it whatsoever. And the only figures that have been put out there...
Tourism?
No evidence whatsoever. I've met with Visit Britain. They said no evidence.
The Crown Estate's money is way up.
The Crown Estate money is ours. It doesn't belong to them. It's got nothing to do with...
It's going up a lot.
Yeah, indeed. But that's got nothing to do with the royal family or the cost of it. It costs over £500 million a year when you add on all the other costs, including the income from the two duchies. The profits go to them. We pay Charles, through the Duchy of Lancaster, something like 160 times what we pay Keir Starmer.
But I bet you Ed Llewellyn, our ambassador, and the Prime Minister would have both said to King Charles and the Palace, please go to Italy because we need you to help us lever change.
I don't think that's correct. There's no evidence that these trips make the slightest bit of difference.
No,
what would have happened is that the Palace would have gone to the government and said, please find us trips to go on and ask us to go on.
But one of the aspects of this that, for me, is so significant, firstly, I mean, we mustn't forget the Commonwealth link. The monarch is not automatically, but there couldn't be any other head. Certainly, you couldn't have a rotating head of state, and you certainly couldn't have a Secretary-General, in my opinion. What you've also got, if you look very carefully at the state visits and the way, obviously, the politicians work with the monarch, the royals act on advice. Graham gave a figure. Republic claimed that the monarchy costs £500 million. Brand Finance, for example, they said in coronation year they brought in some three-quarters of
Brand Finance.
No, but I mean,
Brand Finance is a nonsense report. It provides no evidence or sources whatsoever. It's been debunked.
This was also very significant when it came to soft power.
You know, soft power has also been questioned as well, because ultimately international government comes down to hard power, and the fact is Trump turned around and slapped 10% tariffs on the UK.
This trip will cost Italy something, right? It will cost Italy something to host them. Why are they agreeing to it if it doesn't matter to them? It obviously matters to the Italian government to have the royals there. It matters.
These sorts of visits happen all the time, and there's visits between different heads of state. They've got a president who is far more popular than Charles is in the UK. they would do a visit to Germany or to Ireland where the president...
soft power makes no difference to anything.
No, but then
of course you're going to think the monarchy is a bad idea, but soft power
there's no evidence.
Yes, but it does, because if you look since the Field of the Cloth of Gold down to the two-state visits before the war, which were very, very significant, and that was the King George and Queen Elizabeth to Paris and also to the United States.
Whilst his brother was visiting Hitler.
I mean, one of the aspects you're playing down the, so to speak, trump card. The Prime Minister specifically used that invitation, firstly to Balmoral, secondly the
but there's
state
no evidence that makes
does matter.
A difference.
It does
There's no
matter.
evidence that makes any difference whatsoever. You know, there are hard political and economic decisions being made, not because they've been given an invite to meet Charles.
But you always had an interest in friends, in fact, giving your friends what, or who you hope would be your friends, something that they want.
Right, OK.
And also the post-Brexit
you mentioned the Commonwealth. Charles is the King of Canada. He has been threatening to take over Canada.
And knows Charles is the King of Canada. And Charles
has done nothing about that.
Oh, yes,
he's done nothing
he sent
about
some
that.
very careful
He's done
messages.
nothing.
He won't be the first American president to get into a row with a British king, and we know where that will end up.
Yes, well,
and most of the Commonwealth countries
that supports the Trump happens because of his mother to support the monarchy, and we're using it.
I'm sorry, but we should not base our democracy on what the Trump family like or what tourists enjoy doing.
Is the trip value for money? Yes or no?
Is definitely value for money.
Is the trip value for money?
It's a nonsense question. £500 million when we are seeing 4.5 million children living in poverty and veterans not getting the care they need is a disgrace. Right. And that should be slashed down to £10 million. Charles can be put on the salary and the rest of them can be told to go.
Give a straight answer, yes or no. Is it a good value for money?
No, clearly not.
We have been asking you if it's time to stop funding these kinds of royal trips. Well, despite their popularity, 72% of you said yes, it is time to stop funding these kinds of trips, while 28% said no. That has slightly surprised me.
The trips will always go on because you've got to have diplomacy. Right. You've got to cultivate your friends.
Like the Caribbean tours.
Sorry, Richard.
There's nothing in the world
William and
that interests
Kate,
people.
You've lost the debate. Graham won. It's where we are.
Interest
kind of
in the monarchy.
Move on.
This is democracy.
If I were you, I'd now ignore the public.